This week on Enterprising, why corporate governance is a big deal even for small companies.
We had a case where 3 directors on the board were actually servants of the owner.
Well, they say it's the best place to come up with ideas. But what do you know? Sometimes this itself can be the idea.
How Shrenik Sanitation Systems is toilet training India and making money of it.
Welcome to Enterprising. The RBI governor recently said financial stability is like porn. You know it when you see it. Well, I could say that about corporate governance. It's difficult to define, but conspicuous in absence. And don't for a moment think that if you're a small, privately held company, you don't need to bother about corporate governance norms. If you have any hope of attracting investors, of course you do. So this week, Jaya Thorani recounts the experiences of some startups to tell you how to stay on the right side of governance norms.
So you're one of those who believes in black and white. You need a definition before you're convinced. Well, here's one. Market regulator and the BOP of all listed companies, SEBI, says corporate governance is about commitment to values, ethical business conduct, and about making a distinction between personal and corporate funds in the management of a company. Ugh! Values, chalues, ethics, vethics. What does corporate governance really mean? And why is it so important to small unlisted companies?
Corporate governance is about running your company in a manner that is transparent and fair to the owners. It's not about the law, it's not about taxation, it's not about rules. You can run the company in a perfect manner, having obeyed all the laws, and still be violating corporate governance in a very big way.
One of the things that's very important is to educate SMEs on why corporate governance is good for them. It's not something that they should do just because without that they will not get an equity investment from a VC. If that is the only reason they do it, then they'll find ways to go around it again.
Saurabh Srivastava should know. He's worked in big companies, invested in many startups, and is now a career venture capitalist and the head of the Indian Venture Capital Association. His many decades of experience say there are 3 common mistakes entrepreneurs make.
They confuse the company's interest with their own interest. First big mistake. So if they have to spend on a son's education overseas, they feel whether they send it from their personal money or the company's money, both are fine. First big mistake. The second place where SMEs go wrong is when they take loans and others from banks. They think banks are not stakeholders. So long as they think they're going to pay the money back, they are free to do with the money as they wish. Third mistake, what they do is employ relatives, friends, whatever, on a non-arm's length basis. So they're not necessarily deserving of that position, but they just employ them anyway.
If only someone had warned Ajay Deshpande many years ago when he was first starting up Sunbeam, a facilities management provider. Little did Ajay know then that in making his wife and father company directors, he had left himself out.
I was working for an MNC. For me, it was not viable to work parallelly a company since I was working. So what I did, I started off a company on my wife and my father's name because you needed 2 directors to start off. I started off with that. Over a period of time, in 3 months, I realized, no, I should jump into it. I got into it. 3 months down the line, I realized after getting a consultant on board that, oh, I am not a director.
Luckily, Saswata Banerjee of consulting firm Progress Partners came to Ajay's rescue.
The first thing that we of course had to do is to get Ajay back on the records, because if he's meeting the clients, if he is meeting the banks, he must have a legal standing, without which a lot of things which he does can be called into question at a later date. Apart from that, a lot of processes had to be put in. So without him having to look over everybody's shoulder, the paperwork will get done properly, all the statutory requirements will be fulfilled. You cannot expect him to sit down there and make sure that everything is paid on time. Otherwise, he will not have time to run his business.
So Saswat also repaired Sunbeam's accounting process, which saw money being spent without proper vouchers and authorizations. enough to raise the alarm bells for an investor. But Saswat says he's seen much worse.
Ajay's case was nowhere close to what other things we have seen. We have seen cases, for example, where a person has bought 6 cars, one of which is used for his business and the other 5 are running errands for his wife and taking his kids to school. We had a case where 3 directors on the board were actually servants of the owner that he had to put to get around the requirement for independent directors.